Hey guys. Hi. Um this is my first YouTube video, and I'm holding my phone literally in my hands. Yeah, don't judge me for editing and all that. But oh gosh. Sorry. I'm just trying not to get emotional because um it's hard for me to talk about this. So I used to be a refugee. Yeah. I was born in Sarajevo in 1990, the end of 1990. And, genocide and war broke out in Bosnia. And a lot of people died. A lot of Bosnians died. And war, as in like all cases, it's just, I don't think anybody wins, And it's always for the same thing. It's money, power, land, the same. It's just like, it's a hamster on a wheel. You know what I mean? It's just same. And there's nothing really unique about war in that sense, besides pain and suffering. And, I thought I wasn't going to get like emotional talking about this because it's my life, and you just get used to accepting it because it's your life, but that's not the case. And what happened was my father, he was in the war. My mom was in the war. I'm an only child, right? And my father was shot in his ankle by a sniper. A Serbian Chetnik shot him in his ankle while he was outside, And the reason he was outside is because he was trying to bring me milk. Yeah. So I wouldn't die, Because a lot of children just died, like starvation. If you don't get food, you don't get water, you don't get nutrition, you just die. It's war. Your life has absolutely no value in a war zone. And I really have to try not to get emotional. I'm trying to just think about something else right now because it's really intense, It's an intense experience. It takes a lot out of a person. Oh, God. Okay. And so, yeah, he was shot in his ankle, and my mom, one time, this is what led us to just like say, we have to leave, Sarajevo, the capital city, because one time she was holding me on her chest in our apartment, and the reason was because we were on the floor, legit, we were just on the floor. And the reason that happened was because snipers were shooting through our window, and they shattered all the glass. And it's freezing cold outside, you know what I mean? It's freezing cold. Like Sarajevo, like you can Google it, Sarajevo is mountainous. It's surrounded by mountains, okay? It's like it's a sniper's dream, okay? Because it's easy to kill people, right? It's surrounded by mountains. You just shoot and kill. It's really simple. So for a war zone, oh my God, it's yeah, it's terrible. And they shot through the window, and the bullets landed literally like 2 inches away from my mom and I. 2 inches away. 2 goddamn inches away, right? So imagine being in a situation like that, right? I mean, I was a newborn, okay? And my mom had me when she was almost 40 years old, right? She was born November 1950. I was born November 1990, right? So she had me a week before she turned 40. And, oh God. And I was just, unaware of what was happening because I was a baby, at the time. And can you imagine if you had a child, right? And you suffered throughout your life. It's not like life is easy, being she's a first generation, college graduate. And she's a female, She got discriminated against in that way. She went through her own hell, right? And now you're getting shot potentially through your window, right? Yeah. And she just said she didn't have a choice. So she held me in her arms in the dead of winter with snow coming in through, the window, broken window. And she just said, "Oh, we're out. Like, no, this is not happening. Like, I'm not dying here." You know what I mean? So, yeah, she got me, and she rolled the dice, literally, because what happened was she left the apartment. She escaped, I should say, not left. She escaped the apartment, and she could have been killed. I could have been killed. Because it's not like there's a guarantee that somebody's not going to shoot you in your head while you're on your way out. You know what I mean? A sniper is literally like pointing at us, right? So it's a matter just like, how fast you are, how quick you are, how skilled you are at moving. That's it. And luck. I don't think anybody's luck in a war zone, but, it is what it is, right? So she ran downstairs, and we slept in the basement of our apartment building for the rest of the war, right? And she put me in a bulletproof vest when we were on our way out of Sarajevo. Just to make sure we don't die, so I don't die. She, covered me up and with a vest and hoped that I wouldn't get shot in the head, because a bulletproof vest is not gonna protect you everywhere. If I stop for some moment and I'm just like trying to, regroup, just please have some understanding. Because this is really emotional for me to talk about. And I'm sorry, like I just realized the phone is shaking a bit. Yeah, it's really difficult to talk about this. As, you can imagine. So yeah, that happened. We escaped the sniper. And yeah, my father was shot, right, in his ankle. He survived. But to this day, I think I'll explain the kind of person he is in some other videos, because he was extremely abusive towards me as a result of him trying to bring me milk and then blaming me for the fact that he was shot in his ankle. Let's see what else. We barely escaped Sarajevo, my mom and I, with our lives intact. We got into a convoy with women and children through the Children's Embassy of Sarajevo. And Sorry. And we sped off, you know, like trying to survive the Chetniks that were around us because they had snipers aimed directly at our gun. They were staring at us through the windows of the bus. They wanted to kill us. The only reason they did not kill us and rape us and all of that was because their government, like the Serbian government, and then the American government were just like, you do anything to these women and children and you're gonna get it. There will be consequences. Yeah. But they didn't have to follow those rules, right? Nah. Because it's war, who cares, right? And yeah, we escaped Bosnia, and then we got to a refugee camp in the Czech Republic. We momentarily stopped in Croatia, but can't really stay in Croatia because Croatia was involved in war crimes against Bosnia as well. Croatia and Serbia, those were the two countries that really did quite a number on us. So yeah, we got to the Czech Republic in a refugee camp, and well, you can imagine what a refugee camp looks like, right? Yeah, a lot of suffering. Yeah. And from the Czech Republic, we went to France because my aunt knew a French journalist. She met him during the 1984 Winter Olympics in Sarajevo. And he wanted to try to help us escape, you know, the refugee camp. Because what would have happened is we would have either stayed in the camp and then we would have been shipped back to Sarajevo at the end of the war, right? Or during the war. I mean, it depends really on their you know, capacity to deal with, you know, administrative duties. Because you're a refugee, okay? Like I said, your life is just worthless, completely worthless. You are just a number, and I'm literally like I'm getting chest pain talking about this, and we ended up going to France. We actually stayed in Paris. Can you imagine? You know, like you see Paris in like movies and you read about it in books, you hear about it in like songs, and you think, oh my God, you know, France. But when you're a refugee, that doesn't really matter to you, right? Because you have nothing. You know you're not going to stay there permanently. You know, you just, it's just a temporary place for you to stay. And that's it. Just a temporary place for you to stay. Yeah. And we ended up going to his apartment with his wife and children. And I'm just surprised that he even like let us stay with him, you know, that he got us out of the refugee camp and let us stay somewhere. Because, well, I mean, seriously, we could have just stayed in the refugee camp and suffered. And either, you know, been shipped back to Bosnia during the war or after the war. I mean, we would have been killed had we stayed in the camp, probably. Because what would have happened if we had been shipped back to Sarajevo during the course of the war? The Chetniks, while you're on a plane, or you know, even if you're in a car or a van or what, they'll just shoot you. They'll just shoot you. That's it. And you know what I have to say? Death is not the worst thing that can happen to a person, actually. Being tortured or being raped, I would say that that's far worse than death, you know, because there's a lot of suffering that can happen before death, right? And they can even make you wish you were dead, right? That's war. And what happened was, oh my God. Yeah, we were just in a position where we had no choice, my mom and I. So yeah, I mean, thanks to my aunt, thanks to her knowing him, meeting him during the 1984 Sarajevo Olympics, we had a place to stay, you know, and not be surrounded by constant suffering. And yeah, we stayed in Paris for a few months. It's a temporary solution, like I told you. And then we applied for, my mom, she applied for different countries to stay in as refugees. And we were accepted into Malaysia. Yeah. Now I have to say something about Malaysia. Sarajevo is mountainous, right? Bosnia is mountainous, okay? So you're talking about like Europe, right? And it's cold. The winters are like stone cold, right? And then you go from like Bosnia and then you go to Malaysia. Malaysia is literally like right at the equator. Malaysia has jungles. Malaysia has snakes and swamps, and it's hot and it's humid. Like the humidity, well, at least when I was there, it was like, I don't remember, it was like 95%, 98%. That is the equivalent to an animal, an elephant, and like a rhino sitting on your chest. I'm laughing about it. It's not funny. It's really not funny. I had nosebleeds all the time. It was intense. It was really intense. And it was intense because you're on a different continent, okay? Malaysia is in Asia. Bosnia is in Europe, and all these other countries like Croatia, the Czech Republic, France, they're in Europe, right? So if you take a globe and you spin around, you look at the distance between Malaysia and you know, Asia and Europe, you are going to see how long our flight took to get there. It's insane. Insane. And yeah, we got there and oh my God. Yeah. And that's where I was reunited with my father, my mom and I. He was shot. He was shot like hardcore. He almost lost his leg, you know. And the reason why he was shot in his ankle, it wasn't an accident. The Chetnik behind, you know, the sniper, he wanted him to suffer like throughout the war and then slowly die. You know what I mean? That's why he could have shot in the head, he could have shot in the back, he could have shot in the chest, just automatic, you know, murder. But that's why he wasn't killed. The goal was torture. And oh my God. Yeah, Malaysia. Ooh. I don't miss getting a bloody nose because of humidity, right? Like every day getting a bloody nose, having to go to an emergency room because, you know, my nose is just not built